All right, everyone. So, guys, I want you to understand the urgency of now, right? The fierce urgency of this moment of right now. So let's tell a little story. We'll talk about how crisis affects us, but we're gonna also talk about why we miss opportunities and moments. Okay. So in September of 1998, a little company called Google was started. And I think I've told you my story. It was 5 years later before Brian even heard about Google. Just the truth, right? And started using it. So that was 1998. But one of the reasons why I didn't know anything about Google, because I remember I got into sales around November. It was because everybody was talking about Y2K. Okay, so on the news, it was saturating everybody with this idea that our computers were going to shut down and chaos was going to ensue. Whether that was a joke or whether that was, just a mistake or whatever it was, it created a crisis. I know people that were storing away gasoline, they were storing away food, canned goods, all that kind of stuff. They were getting ready for almost war because they thought, things were going to shut down. Systems were going to shut down. People were going to be in disarray. Now, fast forward to today. This is now 24 years later. Google was introduced during a time when no one was paying attention, except for those whoever they are that are awake and understand investing, right? So then when 2000 actually came and we all breathed a sigh of relief, we only had a year before September 11th happened. And then it created its own crash in the market. So we weren't awake then. But in 2000 was when Apple began to take off. You would have beat out the folks with the iPad and the iPhone because your Apple would have taken off, your stock would have taken off. And if you would have put $1,000 in Apple back then, you would have $212,000 now, or $220,000 now. That's amazing, right? So then comes the crisis in 2008. And they were already working on the concept of what Bitcoin is. And so by January 2009, Bitcoin comes out. And Bitcoin, the blockchain are synonymous. Without a Bitcoin, there is no blockchain, right? Vice versa. Same thing. So when you hear the blockchain, just know it relates back to Bitcoin. You don't have to know anything else. Just know it relates back to Bitcoin because it's the first. Now, in Bitcoin, they said, we're only going to do 21 million of these things, tokens, period. That's all we're going to do. And every 4 years, starting in 2012, we're going to have something called the halving, where we're going to burn off a few of these tokens, right? And so 2012 hits, Facebook goes public, all right? First halving, one Bitcoin was only $12.26. That's all it was. If you had taken the same $1,000, let's say you were a lucky one back in the Apple day, and you took $1,000 and you're well on your way now. Now you're like, you know what? I could see taking $1,000 and risking it on this because guess what? I'm playing with house money. If you would have taken $1,000 and put it on Bitcoin, you would now have $5.5 million. $5.5 million. Crazy stuff. But when Facebook was launched, or when it went public, if you would have got in on it, you would have put, who cares, another $1,000, and you would be even more wealthy. Now, you're probably wondering what this has to do with today. Well, enters today. And now we've got bricks. Now, each one of them has a catalyst. I didn't leave out COVID, but let's talk about COVID. We've talked about it before. One Bitcoin was about $6,100. So every 4 years, you get something that pushes the market. But then there's also something that distracts you from paying attention. It's called presidential elections. And if you look at every cycle, pretty much they run in congruency either to The midterms are somewhere around an election, so they're mixed in between. All these different crises that I just named, if you really just pay attention and just back into the numbers, you'll see they cross. And so while you're distracted watching your news, while you're distracted discussing whether you're going to be Democrat or Republican, which, by the way, I don't mind telling you, I've been both in my lifetime. I am now an independent because I don't believe in either fully. I just don't. But I will vote according to who fits what's necessary in the moment. And I actually am not one for either one of the parties. I feel like we need to go, if we got all this technology and we're doing everything else, then we need to go in a brighter direction. That's just the truth, right? Because they're playing with us with these two. Right. That's how I feel about it. They're playing with me, right? I'm a Christian, so I believe in certain things. So you play with me, you give me some of what I want, but you don't give me all of what I want. And I'm not saying I got to be entitled to have it all, but it's time to have a voice for the voiceless. That's how I feel, right? So that's all you're going to hear from me about politics, and whatever you do, who, go do it. God bless you. But your soul is at stake based on what you do. That's on you. So done with that. So now you get 2020 and you get everything shut down. And that's when God speaks to me and says, stop attending to Pharaoh's business, get up and build for your people. But I got a unique thought for you. What if in 2012, what God was warning me of when he showed me Pharaoh, right? And he showed me Moses' feet and he showed me Moses' staff. Why does that run in congruency with A, Bitcoin, and B, Facebook going public? Why? Okay, I'm just going to leave you there. So 4 years later, 2016 hits, Spirit speaks to me again. Now I'm looking at a large building downtown in Chicago. Not just a large building, but the fourth largest in the world. The old Sears Tower. Look it up. Something says, what stops you from owning a building like that? My question is, what do you think the Spirit was speaking to? Is he speaking to the money that I earn in my day-to-day life? No, I don't need any more of that. Or was he speaking to my subconscious to help me understand that if we as the body of Christ don't put our hands together and find a way together and quit playing church and playing with God, man, we're going to get lost. We're going to get lost in this world because the world is doing whatever it wants to do, and it's dominating us because we're playing by the world's system. We're not supposed to do that. Kingdom is not the world's system. It's not kumbaya, okay? It's not Mr. Rogers, but it's also not the world's system. So unless we want to be defeated constantly, we have to literally, covertly come together and say, you know what? Time out. It's time out for all of the garbage. I don't care what movement you lead, who you say you are. I could care less about what it is you do. You could be Janet Jackson. I could care less. I just want to know, are you about God's business? Yes or no? If you are, then we can go to work together. If you are not, then it's going to reveal itself. If you're greedy, it's going to show itself. Trust me, there's going to be enough to go around. Now we're 2 weeks before another halving. And I've talked to people. So, of course, I'm not anxious, but I'm like, I can feel it. And I'm like, people are about to get left again, God. Why do they keep getting left? Because they will not take the time to discipline themselves enough to slow down and say, guess what? He's right. I'm looking at this thing. He's right. And you don't have to take my word for it. Please go to Ernst & Young. Please go get you a financial advisor. Please sit down in front of someone who knows math. Please go get a spiritual witness, whoever it may be. Ask them what I just told you. What I said. You can this is recorded, so you can just ask them bullet point. Does any of this stuff make sense? Now, I shared with you when it first began, I said, you know what? The billionaires are going to get even more greedy and rich and more wealthy. You look and see what the top 20% have earned in the last 4 years, and come see me. All right, so I'm done with that. So we have now a case of crisis giving us an opportunity to do something we've never done before. And yet when you go and talk to somebody about something, the first thing they want to say is, guess what? If you pass up and you don't create an action that goes along with what I'm saying, you will be left behind. You have to create an action. You have to. You've got to make yourself say, time out, because what is happening right now is every system you're used to is changing, and it is evolving, and it's going to evolve at a pace that's so far greater than your mind can ever think or expand to, that you will be left behind. Why? Because of AI. That's why. AI don't care about you. AI don't care about me. 40% of the jobs will be gone by 2030, probably before then, but don't take my word for it. So the question becomes, where do you want your money? You're not fighting really for you. You know what you're fighting for? You're fighting for your children's children. Even when it comes to BRICS, they're saying, hey, this is 30 years off. Okay, so Brian's 52 years old. 30 years from now, I can close my eyes, rest, and probably, who knows? Somewhere in that time period. But I get out every day and I work because I want to get it in your subconscious. And I want to get it in my children's subconscious that this is not the time to play a game. And this is not someone trying to convince you to sell Amway. I don't care what you do. I just want you to wake up. And I want you to stay up. I don't want you to go back to your family cookouts. I don't want you to go through summer break. I don't want you to go through NCAA tournament. I don't want any other thing to saturate your mind, because remember, if you can, when they shut all that stuff down and you didn't have any of it to run to, that was just 4 years ago. So now BRICS is running us into, they're not going to play fair, guys. Okay, so by the end of this year, China is working on their own blockchain. What is that going to mean for you? Probably a lot as far as financially. What they're saying is, we want to encapsulate our dollars. If you remember correctly, China rejected cryptocurrency there for a while, but they only did it so they could go ahead and master it. That's all they do, is duplicate and master things. And then they're going to make it a BRICS system. So a lot of the countries that you see in BRICS now will probably, I don't know, they may sell, they may do whatever they're going to do. I'm telling you that this is a small window of opportunity for you to do something. If you do nothing in the next 12 months, I love you, but we're going to have to leave you, right? Now, when I say leave you, this is Diamond VIP. I go nowhere. I'm staying here. I'm going to be here until we sipping soup through a straw, but I won't be able to explain to you how I could take a Porsche and make it into a building financially, because that's what's about to happen. And I want you, beloved, to never miss out. So when I say to you that, we built a platform, something you can trust, something you can come back to, I don't care if you use this and go somewhere else and I never see you link. But there is something to be said for you engaging and learning how to become a leader your doggone self. Because this is a run, tell that movement. That's all it really is. It's a run and tell that movement. And if you're quiet and you're sitting in the shadows and you're not talking, you're going to regret this, because everything that I'm telling you is prophetic. It's prophetic. And it not only has come to pass in multiple different ways, it's continuing to come to pass. And by the way, this is birthday. I didn't forget. This is the birthday of the group. This is exactly 4 years. And looking at where we are, I'm like, okay, this is incredible, God. So when I say to you, the great discovery will not only train you, help you, assist you, but you've got all the information you want in your own encapsulated environment, a platform where now you can take that knowledge and that information that you're utilizing, that podcast, whatever it may be, you can sell the product. You'll be connected to all the other people and thought leaders in here. Guys, it's a whirlwind if you open up your eyes of opportunity. But on top of that, we have New Hollywood, and you're some of the first to know what's about to happen. I mean, I can't tell you everything, but I'll tell you, hey, it's approved through Google and Apple. So, I don't know where you were when Facebook hit, but you better be looking out for New Hollywood. I'll tell you that much. But you have an opportunity of opportunities. I'm only here to bless you. Each one of these things run in stages. And I want you to understand this. So yeah, I know if you decided, hey, all I want to do is live good, Brian, I love health and wellness, man, this is amazing. Okay, great. Go do it. It's very inexpensive to do. It's only $40 and $9.95 per month. I mean, anybody can do that. I mean, to be real, you could just send out a few SoFi referrals. If you really paid attention to what I was telling you, you can make up to $10,000 in it. And guess what? You'll have enough to pretty much invest in everything that we're talking about. No questions asked, no problem, no extra money out of pocket, using other people's money. So you let's say you say, you know what, Brian, I love New Me. This is the most important thing in my life, man. It's changing my life right now. I say, man, that's amazing. Run, tell that, go do it. If you say to me, the great discovery is the only thing that I want to do, Brian, yakety schmackety, that's the way it works for me. Hallelujah. I say, praise God. But if you're a genius and you think deeper, you'll say to yourself, I have a platform to market pretty much anything I want to market, don't I, Brian? And I'll say to you, yes, because that's what I've been building. Yes, I'm proud. I'm happy to say that we got with other thought leaders, man, and we have hit the big ticket. And if you want that, you can have that. All of that. And there's nothing stopping you but you. God bless.